What's happening, guys? And welcome back to another League One show. A lot has happened since the last one. So 2 weeks has passed. We was meant to do one last week, but unfortunately, I fell very, very ill last week and caught COVID-19. It wasn't nice, put it that way. I'm over the worst of it now, which is good. But we're back for another live show. We're going to talk about this weekend's results. Obviously, I got to watch them all coming in from home, from the comfort of my own house. And then we're going to be talking about the Doncaster Rovers, Crewe, Wigan, Rotherham, Morecambe and Gillingham. A lot happening at the Gills at the moment. And we're going to finish a live Q&A. But we are joined by League One and Football Journal in general and Jigsaw, Jack Goodwin. Jack, how we doing, mate?
I'm all right. I was feeling a bit better until you called me Jigsaw. I like the journalism part, but Jigsaw, I'm not a massive fan of that one.
Absolutely. And we'll get into the Jigsaw a bit later on in the show. But anyway, we're going to go into this weekend results first of all, and then we're going to go into your guys' comments. So make sure you are leaving them down in the description down below. And again, a lot of goals happened on Saturday. As you can see, we're going to start with Rotherham against Doncaster, Jack. Now, Rotherham, again, come down, had a kind of a strong start, lost a couple of games in there as well. But when you've got Michael Smith in your squad, you're going to be able to score goals. He's now got 3 goals in the first 5 games. There was interest from Middlesbrough in the summer. How big will he be if Rotherham were to go up this year?
Well, he's just a key player, isn't he? He suits Paul Warren's style of play. It's the typical sort of Rotherham United sort of style. You know, they're quite brutish. They have your big men at the back, and then they've also got the big man up top in Smith, who he does well for them, really. 2 goals on Saturday. I think he's four goals now. Is that for Michael Smith now? So he's doing well for himself, and he's going to be crucial, especially in Paul Warren's team, who do thrive on set pieces. Obviously, I don't. You're the stato. You've got all the stats, but you know when I have watched Rotherham and I've been watching all the highlights today, lengthy highlights of them, and you know the goals here, the good goals. To be fair, like they are well carved out goals, and I think he's a big player for Rotherham.
Absolutely, I must agree. And when I watch Rotherham, he's so important. I think when you look at strikers back to goal, I thought Ched Evans was one of the best in League One. I think Michael Smith is the best striker in League One back to goal. I don't think you're going to get better than him. I think the way he holds the ball up, he brings others into play. Obviously, they haven't got many good strikers, rather, or many attacking options. I know they've got Freddie Lepardo, who's not a bad second striker. They've got a couple of young strikers coming through as well. But Mike Smith back to goal is as good as anyone in League One. I could make that step up. And I could see why a Middlesbrough or Wycombe wanted him in the last few years. But again, Paul Warren signed him. He was a health freak, wasn't he? I think he went out for a drink as he signed him. He ordered a green tea and automatically Paul Warren wanted to sign him. So Rotherham currently sit 8th. Doncaster are a joke, in my opinion. They're embarrassing. The recruitment has been not good enough. And I remember talking to you and we both agreed that Doncaster would struggle this year. And when you look at the attacking options in Omar Bogle, Kakir up front, Galbraith, they're okay young players, but there's no real quality or experience there, is there, that they've had in the last few years. Obviously, they lost Ben Whiteman to your team, Preston. And you haven't just got that solo striker that, when they had Marquis, or you have got Jordi Awula, but he's not really come into the side of yet.
I feel the problem with Doncaster is over the past few years, they have built their side around loanees, and they've really relied on loanees. That Tyrese John Jules last year, was he from Arsenal? He was an outstanding talent, and they've had many over the past few years. I think they must have had about 6 different goalkeepers, and then they settled on is it Louis Jones in goal? So they settled on him in goal, but again, it's like, if they can't get those loanees in and they've lost not the spine of the team in Ben Whiteman, but the best player in Ben Whiteman, let's not beat around the bush, the best player in Ben Whiteman. And I'm not as critical as you are, I would say, Ben, because I actually think the recruitment this year has been all right. I quite like Peter Dahlberg. I know he made not Peter Dolberg, is it Pontus Dolberg or something like that, something along those lines. But he made
Sweden's number one, eh?
The other week, but then he had a fantastic game last week, didn't he? And Noyle coming in from Cambridge United, he did very well for Mark Bonner's side last year. The youngster Smith in midfield, Omar Bogle, I think he's a good player. But my main problem with Doncaster, Ben, actually lies with the manager, Richie Wellens. Yeah. There's a big buzz around Richie Wellens, isn't there? And a lot of your lower league pundits like Richie Wellens, and were upset he got sacked at Salford and stuff. But
yeah, I must agree. I watched a lot of his interviews at Salford, and I felt when he lost this year, a lot of his players under the bus. I watched a couple of Salford games. I think I remember watching them against Colchester, and they drew 2-2, and Colchester scored late on. And all I heard was him shouting and shouting. And they were 2-1 up at the time. And it's like, sometimes the players, you don't want that. Yes, he won promotion with Swindon, but he had a front two of Ian Doyle and Jerry Yates, who, let's be honest, are two of the best strikers League Two will ever see in the last 10 years as a partnership. You're not going to get much better than that. Obviously, Doyle now scoring for Bolton in League One, and Jerry Yates yet to really kickstart his championship career with Blackpool, but still a very good player. I do agree with Wellens. I think if they had a bit more experience, he'd be okay. But the squad, I think if they bring Will Grigg in, I think he's been rumoured to come in. I think they'll be okay. But quickly now going on to a new boy, Cambridge. It's obviously a new boy, Bolton. But we're mainly focusing on Cambridge. Again, a great win for them. That again, the second win of the season. They're flying up mid-table. 8 points for them now. 1-0 win at home. Shiloh Tracy, the former Tottenham man, getting it. He was on loan there briefly last year. It has been Joe Ironside getting all the goals. He's come in and done a good job. I think he scored 14 last season in League Two. Obviously, it was second bar to Paul Mullin. But Cambridge, they've got some decent players, haven't they? You know, Lloyd Jones, Wes Houlihan, Shiloh Tracy, Joe Ironside. Do you think Cambridge could have enough to start this year? Obviously, against Bolton, who were undefeated before going to the Abbey.
I didn't know a single person this year, Ben, who didn't have Cambridge in their bottom four. Everyone I knew had Cambridge in the bottom four, and obviously the main bit of that comes down to losing the star striker Paul Mullin to Wrexham. But like you say, they've made a flying start. I mean, 1-0 against Bolton, it's a solid victory. And with kind of the unknown team, because Mark Bonner, you know, he's only ever had one season full in management, and he gets promoted in that season, but it's a different task for him this year in sense of having to keep up Cambridge in a league full of big boys. But they're doing well. They're doing really well, to be honest. But again, it's early days, isn't it? Five games in. I think I'll say this a lot. 5 games in, it's a small sample size of how your season's gone. So Cambridge might be on 8 points now, but they might only pick up 8 points in the next 20, and then they'd be in the bottom 3, wouldn't they? So yeah, it's a difficult one. I definitely think they will be down there struggling because as the season goes on, it's going to get tougher and tougher for these sides that maybe have got smaller squads in terms of quality. Wes Houlihan, if he gets injured, that'll be a big miss. I mean, he's 39 years old now. I mean, he is different gravy. He is a fantastic player, and they did heavily rely on him and Mullin's goals last year. And this year, I know Dimitar Mitov has been really praised for his performances in goal. So will he be able to carry on that form for the rest of the season? I don't know. Yeah,
I agree. Mitov is a very, very good goalkeeper. They've got a good spine there, and I like that. And it's kind of a winning mentality that they've kept from last year. And they did it a good way last year. Obviously, they didn't quite go when they wanted. I know obviously they had a couple of bad results towards the end of the season. But Bolton, again, didn't start last year off well, but ended last year really well. And they brought some good players in. You know, Dixon in goal, I thought was a smart sign. Obviously, struggled with goalkeeper in the year with Billy Crellin. Matt Jukes came in, but coming towards the end of his career now. You know, Santos stayed at the football club. You know, they brought Josh Sheehan who's been superb so far. Free kick, dynamite. They did lose the other day. They conceded 9 goals in the first 5, but they conceded 8 goals. 6 goals they did score in the first 2 games, granted. But do you believe Bolton have enough going forward? Like the players that they can bring off the bench, Elias Kachunga, you know, football manager and championship hero in the last few years, coming off the bench. Does that show how much attacking they've got, or do you think defensively they could be a bit worrying.
I think in any side that Ian Evatt manages, his side's going to create chances, and it's whether those attackers can put them into the back of the goal. Owen Doyle knows how to put a ball into the back of the goal. I'm a Preston North End fan. I loved him at North End. I thought he was really underutilised, played out wide, but if he's switched up, hasn't he? So last year they had a three at the back, and now they're more playing a 4-2-3-1, aren't they? But with Doyle there, Sarcevic in behind, like you mentioned, you've got Afolayan on the left, Lloyd Isgrove on the right, bringing Kachunga off, that young lad from Hamburg, Xavier Amicia. They've got an abundance of quality there, and it's the way Ian Evatt likes to play. And we're going to see the fruits being bared over this season, just like we did last year. I think it's going to be a slow start for Bolton. But I think once it all clicks into gear and the new signings click into gear with how Ian Evatt wants the side to play, then I think Bolton could have a good season.
Absolutely. I think it's the start of another 3-year plan at Bolton. I think they kind of remind me of how MK Dons were last year. Young manager, but got a bit of experience behind him. Had a very good first season with Barrow in mid-table, just a couple of places above the relegation zone the following year. Then go up with Barrow, then win promotion with Bolton. I think this year maybe steadilise with Bolton and then really kick on next year. Now, going on teams with slow starts, Charlton, yes, it's been a disappointing start. And I praise them for their business that they brought in. Akinfenwa were on a loan to buy. They brought Craig McGilvery, and he was fantastic against Wigan. Did not deserve to be on the losing side at all there. Jaden Stockley, as you know well yourself, Jack, from Preston. Again, never really got the chances at Preston, but again, been very good in League One. I thought it was a very good win for Charlton. Stockley getting on the score sheet. Jay Seamy getting on the score sheet, the former Swindon man. They've only scored 4 goals all season, 2 of those on Saturday. But a good win against a Crewe side that I worry about now, I must admit. Only the 1 goal. The Owen Dale looks to be leaving. They've lost a lot of the better players. And where a goal's going to come from? Chris Porter been on the bench mainly a lot. Chris Long not getting much game time as well. Finney's not scoring. Where do you see Crewe, Jack, this year? Because I know you said they could struggle to season syndrome. Dave Artell's a very good manager, but is it a step of maybe this is one step too far keeping Crewe up this year?
Again, Crewe are in the same sort of boat as Cambridge. I wouldn't say they've got the weakest squad in the league. But I'd definitely say they're in that pool of probably the 6. There's 6 of them, really. I would say Crewe, Cambridge, Accrington, Cheltenham, Morecambe, and possibly Wimbledon. But Wimbledon do have a lot of potential with their squad. But they're the 6 teams that are kind of competing for the same sort of players. They've probably got a very similar size budget. So I mean, the job that Artell's done at Crewe is fantastic. I mean, if they do go down this year, if they struggle, I really hope they stick by David Artell, because for him to take them up with the squad they had in League 2 was really good, and then to have a little bit of a flirt with the playoffs last year was also a good showing from the Alex. So yeah, I have them to go down at the end of the season. I think that the amount of players they've lost is ridiculous, and I don't see them being able to replace it. And I think it's quite similar to when Preston lost Ben Pearson and Ben Davis in January, and then we had to try and replace them in one transfer window, in the last week, and it didn't really work out well in terms of the form, and it ended up seeing the manager sacked. But I think it's going to be similar for Crewe.
Yeah, I agree. Get your comments down below. Let me know how you think your team will do this year. Very interesting to know. We're going to come to comments in a minute. MK Dons, they're a feel-good factor, Jack. Obviously, Manning's gone in there. Russell Martin did leave just before the season, and I watched the Swansea side away at Blackburn, and I couldn't watch. It was criminal the way they were playing. It will take time for their Swansea side. But back to MK Dons, Moe he's flying. He's scoring goals. I think that's 3 goals now for him. And Troy Parrott, again, a couple of unsuccessful loan spells for him at Ipswich and at Millwall. He's getting a couple of assists as well. They did beat an Accrington side that are struggling in front of goal. Matt Butcher been the main focal point for them. McConville again. Charles and Bishop not scoring for them. Going back to MK Dons, Iesa, what a player. He could go and get 15, 20 goals then, because they did lose Fraser and Jerome, but they brought in Iesa, Parrott, and Max Waters in as well, who's not really had much game time so far.
I think if you look at Don's squad, it's one of the strongest in the league, to be honest, and definitely going forward, like you mentioned, some of their talents they've got, a lot of youngsters as well that are only going to get better. They're going to get sold for a lot of money, and then they're going to be able to reinvest that money. They're like you said, they're a bit of a feel-good club. Russell Martin's led the foundations there. Manning's taken over, highly rated coach. Sticking with the same formation that Martin played, a similar sort of style, rather than going to what Manning, I believe, liked to play fought the back with Lommel in Belgium. And it'll be interesting how Manning's, because we don't really know much about him, how his managerial qualities will come into, when you get a few injuries or you've got your nitty-gritty sort of games as you get towards the Christmas period. It's going to be interesting because that was Russell Martin's downfall, I think. He does trust the process, and he always went on about that. But I do think managers have got to be able to fluctuate a bit. You saw with Ian Evatt, he did change some of his principles and foundations in terms of changing the formation with Bolton, bringing a few different players in rather than just going off the youth look, and it was fantastic for them. So I think Liam Manning has the potential to do a really good job with Dons this year.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, they'll be okay. Bishop and Charles, but once they get one goal, they'll be absolutely fine. You've seen with different players, even from the penalty spot, you can get one goal and you're a totally different player. Morecambe again, what a win for them. A record crowd for them. Again, I think the last one was 8 years ago as well against Newcastle, for over 5,500 in the ground to watch them beat Sheffield Wednesday. It was no goal by Dennis Adrenian, but who cares? 7 points on the board now. 6 of those coming at the Globe Arena. They beat Shrewsbury earlier on the season. They got a good point away at Ipswich. They've had a couple of tough weeks. Rotherham obviously lost to Rotherham when they probably deserved a point, and then lost it away at Gillingham when a penalty decision goes against them. Never a penalty in my book. Unlucky not to get a point, but to come and get a win is unbelievable for that football club. Cole Stockton's been leading the line ever so well, but they've got leaders all over the pitch. Two Diagaras, Adam Phillips, who was on loan there last year, but then went to Accrington Stanley. I like that Morecambe squad, Jack. I think it's got, it's a fun group to watch, and they've got talent. They've got, that grit. I think they'll stay up. I put them in the bottom 4 because I put in Fleetwood in there, but I think Morecambe have got everything enough to stay up, don't you?
Yeah, I think again they're very similar to your Cambridges and stuff. They're competing in that small bracket, but if they stay up, it's an outstanding job done. And I was in the minority last year, Ben. I had them already. I had them to go up and win the playoffs at the start of the season. And a great shout by me, wasn't it? But and that was based off the squad. I actually thought they had a really good squad, and I thought Derek Adams, I think it was blown out of the water a bit about how good of a job he did. It was brilliant, like his recruitment, etc. And yes, he did a brilliant job. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he took the worst squad up. I think he actually took a pretty decent squad up, and they've kept quite a lot of that squad, and they've also added to it, with Scott Wooten and a few other quality additions. So I think Morecambe have got a decent team, and I don't think they should be seen as, because they're a little club, aren't they? They are a small club, and I don't think the fans will mind me saying that. And they're in a big C now, but they're doing well, and I think I've got them to stay up, so hopefully they will.
Speaking of doing well, Oxford, the normally slow start, they won 4 of the first 16 games last year. They did lose 8 of those, so they only literally had, I think, 16 points from the first 16 games, and then they went to go on a really good run and won 17 of the last 30, which was unbelievable. This year, it's been a totally different start. It's 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat, so they've got as many points now as I think they had in the first 12 games last year, so it's a good start for them. and it was a James Henry hat-trick. Obviously, Cameron Brannigan there, rumoured to be going to Blackpool. What average League One players not been rumoured to be going to Blackpool this summer. A little dig there. Got to get one.
It's like a Blackpool hate podcast here with.
You've got to get one in. You've got to get one in. No, so you've got obviously Henry. You've got Brannigan. You've got Taylor, Sam Windle, who's been coming off the bench. Not bad backup. And Carl Robinson's manager. When he's manager, you're going to score goals. You're going to be on the entertaining. You're going to be on the eye. Sometimes you're going to concede a lot of goals. It's the way they play. I like Oxford. I think they'll be thereabouts this season. But Lincoln, I worry for them. I think the squad's very thin this year. Again, like you said before, a team reliant on loans. And Brennan Johnson last year was huge for them. And then you've got Morgan Rogers. You had TJ Ohm, who has returned to the Football Club, which is a good signing. Scully scoring goals, which is good news for them. But Oxford, I think, will be there or thereabouts. But Lincoln, where are they going to do this year? Because they've got some good players in, Akiba Delican, Dan Eldudu, but I don't think they're on the same level as they once were.
I think they'll be fine. Obviously, it was a difficult summer with everything that went on with Michael Appleton. But like you say, they've lost Brennan Johnson. They've not been able to re-sign a couple of the other players like Morgan Rogers. But I think they've added well. But again, when you do add in so many, it takes time for it all to click, and I think it will click with Lincoln. They've had a tough run of games. That Dan Ndulu, I'm convinced he'll be a very good sign. I think he's. I'd have loved to have seen him in the Championship. To be honest, Chris Maguire on the wing, Adelekun. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Akiba Delican.
Yeah, that one. Friurani in midfield. Teddy Bishop. Am I right in saying Teddy Bishop played up top though on the weekend? I can't remember what it was.
He played on I think he played left of a front three. They were very short, Lincoln, on the weekend. I think they only had 14 fit players. And Scully, the goal scorer, was even carrying an injury. So thank you for that little bet. Tips who entered my DMs saying, get Oxen, you're fivefold, and I didn't take his advice.
No, but I think they'll be fine, Ben. I do think they'll be fine. I'm the best betting tipster around. So if you're a Lincoln fan, I've got my Lincoln shirt on as well, my granddad's team. So you should be. There's no need to panic. Michael Appleton is a top manager, and I think Lincoln at the end of the season will finish above Oxford.
Oh, big call. I do agree about Michael Appleton. I said a couple of weeks ago, give him 3 years, give him the budget, give him the keys to Lincoln, the city centre, and he'll win promotion 100%. Now, going on to Plymouth Argyle against Fleetwood now, Hardy and Jeff got back scoring. They've scored 3 goals and got an assist each this season, which has been very good. Again, a very good front two. Jeff struggled towards the back end of last year, but in League One, if you can get goal scorers like that with Paddy Madden and Shed Evans, which they've not got really now, it can be the difference between finishing in the bottom 6 and the top 6, can't it?
Yeah, I think it could be. Managers, not managers. I love managers too much, don't I? Having a striker is probably the most important part of a team, to be honest, because at the end of the day, that's what you play football for. You play football to score, and even if you've got the best defenders in the world, there's always a chance you'll lose 1-0 or you'll draw 0-0. You need to have a good strike. Am I boring you, Ben? I can see that you're yawning there.
Shut up, Jigsaw. Carry on.
I've lost my trail of thought now. Who are we talking about again?
Good strikers.
Yeah, good strikers. There's lots of good strikers in the league. You mentioned Paddy Madden, didn't you? Where is Paddy Madden? Is he at
Stockport County now? What a waste. And Ched Evans is rotting in your reserves. Come home, Ched.
He's got COVID at the moment, or he's isolating. But no, strikers, most important part of a team, isn't it? And if you've got a good striker, we'll come on to one of the strikers later when we'll talk about Sunderland. But there is some. When I was picking out my top goal scorer for this year, I went for that man, Rush Stewart. But there's literally about 20-30 names that could end up as top goal scorer. It's a great league for strikers.
And the team where I don't think a top goal scorer is going to come from, but Sancho Garner today. Fleetwood kind of bringing in, the old firm, Simon Grayson at the helm still. 4 points in the first 5 games. I think when you've got to look at the first 3 games, I think Portsmouth at home, Lincoln away, and Sheffield Wednesday away is as tough start as you're going to get in League One. It's brutal start. And Fleetwood unlucky. I don't think we deserve to win any of the games, I'll be honest with you. But we're unlucky not to get a point in every single one of them. And then when you look at the Cheltenham home game, it could have gone either way, and they got the win. And then Plymouth on Saturday probably deserved to lose that game, but they got a draw. 4 points in the first 5. The next 2 are very tough. It's Rotherham away and Sunderland at home. Fleetwood, could they be in trouble this year, or do you think Simon Grayson's experience to know to get them out of the bottom 4?
See, everyone thinks they'll be in trouble. I think you believe you'll be in danger. I think you've got a good manager there, and a lot of bad words get said about Grayson because he struggled in his last couple of jobs, but it reminds me of a sort of lower league David Moyes. If he can get in his groove, sign a few players that he knows, whilst also trusting the youth, which, he's really good at developing youth. Remember like Callum Robinson and Jordan Hugill, who are going to rip up the Championship this year. Both come from his stewardship, really. I think you'll be fine. I think Joe Garner's a good signing. I think he'll do very well. I can see at least 12 goals coming in for him. Callum Morton, good player. Really liked him at Northampton. Didn't really work out. He was at Lincoln, weren't it? Didn't really work out.
He was. He got a lot of injuries towards the back end, but still a very good player. And he made a huge impact when he came on against Charlton, which led to the goal. Let's just go to the comments quickly. Hello, Sam. Jack is a Preston fan, but he's a League One journalist. Hello, Chris Ramshaw. Hello, Roy. Hello, Rudy. Hello, everyone that's joining in. Keep your comments flowing. We'll answer them in due course. Shrewsbury against Gillingham, Jack. Kind of a few red cards in that game towards the end of it. Cosgrove off the mark as well. So Tom Bloxham as well. But Gillingham are struggling, aren't they? Steve Evans could potentially leave. No real firepower there, is there?
Yeah, I saw that. I've not really looked into that. What is happening with Steve Evans? I've got a good mate who's a Gillingham fan, and he seems worried about it all.
So, like Fleetwood, in an embargo, not much budget there at all. Attacking options, they're struggling for at the moment, I'll be honest. You've got Mustafa Carriol, he's done okay since coming in. Vadine Oliver is a decent, but barring that, there's no real options. And, Scally, as his time at Gillingham owner, weared thin. I know that they absolutely hate him. The crowds are low. It just doesn't feel a good feel factor. And there's been a rumour for the last week and a half that he's going to leave the football club. So, Gills fans, if there are any in the comments, let us know if you think he'll leave. Because I know you absolutely love him at the Gills and you don't want him to leave.
It's a thin squad. There's only 20, 21 players, and it's an old squad as well. There's 9, 10 that are in the 30s, which doesn't bode too well for the future. And it's a shame because if they weren't under an embargo and they were able to back Steve Evans, because it was an impressive appointment in the first place, I thought, then Steve Evans could do a good job because, when he's got a bit of money, he's done well. He did that with Rotherham, did well with Crawley, did a decent enough job with Leeds in terms of where they were at that point. I think it's a real shame. I had Gillingham 8th at the start of the season, which came in for a lot of stick. I have a Gillingham mate, and he was on a night out with some of his mates who are all Gillingham fans, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do crap." They're not Scottish, are they? I can't do accents, and they were going on about how they're gonna do crap, basically. But I still believe in the power of Evans, and I believe in the power of the likes of Johnny Kinde and Vadine Oliver, because they're good players. Max
I've got to agree, and I also think Shrewsbury are in a very false position right now. They did start the season poorly, but they've got Steve Cottrell, who's a very good manager. Let's talk about the playoffs from me. I do think they'll challenge those groups, and I think they're going to be a tough challenge in games when they play them. Cosgrove bottom off the score sheet as well. You've got Bowman still to come in and get up to his fitness. How do you think Shrewsbury will do this year?
Mid-table. I think, like you say, Cottrell's a good manager, got good players. Sam Cosgrove, like you mentioned, he's a very good player for League One. Josh Vella in midfield. They need a few more midfielders, really. They're not well stacked in that area, especially with the way he likes to play with 4-4-2. You need to have two mobile central midfielders really to cover a lot of distance and cover a lot of ground in a 4-4-2. Because nowadays you're usually playing against a midfield three, so you don't want to get outnumbered. So you need fit legs. And Josh Vella and Davis, is that the midfield? I like Josh Vella. I think Davis is a good player, but they do need, after that, what other central midfielders do they have? I mean, I've got it up right now, and there's no one really that can come on. So they need to do some work before the transfer window ends. I mean, they'll have to do some quick work. But yeah, I think they've got a good team. They've got a good team if they can add to it with midfield players, especially central midfield players.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on to Sunderland against Wycombe. Now, two sides that'll be there or thereabouts. Elliot Embleton, what a play. He's like a new sign for them. His loan spell at Blackpool, another goal, there's another screamer. And Stewart at the double. I know you've favoured him to win the Golden Boot. I think that's 4 goals for him now this season in 5 games. What a man. And Charlie White, who?
Yeah, wow. It's a brilliant start for Ross Stewart, isn't it? He's a good runner with the ball. I've been watching it quite. So when I picked him out as my Golden Boot, I didn't really know much about him, so I watched a few highlights just to make sure that I was putting my money on the. Well, I wasn't putting my money on, but putting my head on the line. But no, he's a good player, and I think he could be a real star in that team. Whether they can keep him fit is obviously a guessing game, but if they can, I can see him getting 20 goals. I mean, 4 in 5 is a good record, and has he been taking penalties?
Yeah, he will be taking penalty. I think he took 1 so far this season. But again, they've got a lot of good players to feed him now. Embleton looks fit. 09 coming into the side. They've got a lot of good players, haven't they?
Oh, they haven't. I mean, it's Sunderland, isn't it? They're going to have a good team. I nearly wore my Newcastle top because I thought it might rile up a few Sunderland supporters, but I took it off and went with the Sunderland colours, actually. But no, they've got an outstanding squad, haven't they? The likes of Aidan McGeady, Aidan O'Brien, Carl Winchester in midfield. Yeah, they've got a good team, and I think Sunderland, they should be up there, shouldn't they?
Yeah, Stewart hasn't taken a penalty, so that's even more impressive. A lot of his goals are natural strikers finishes, which is really good to see. Now on to the last game, and we'll go into our Q&A. Wigan beating Portsmouth at home. Now Portsmouth have 10 points, but they have played 4 of the bottom 7 in Crewe, Shrewsbury, Fleetwood, and obviously Wigan being in the top half of the table, but mainly playing those teams in the bottom 7. What do you think of Portsmouth this year? Because I said this is their weakest squad in years, but when you look at the front players, they've got Curtis, Gassanadimis, Hecate Fairchild, Marquis, Harness, those types of players. And then, in midfield, you've got, your Williams, your Joe Morels, your Tunnicliffs, who's been involved in every Portsmouth goal this year so far.
I don't know with Portsmouth. I really don't know. It's always a guessing game. I always thought Jackett didn't do too bad of a job at Portsmouth with the squad he had. And again, I think Carly's got a similar squad. I don't think it's one of the strongest squads in the league. I think it's probably 10th, 11th, 12th sort of in terms of if you're ranking each squad. And they've got sprinkling of quality, haven't they? And Cowley, I expect, won't need to change too much. I know he's been in there for a bit of a while now, but he'll have been able to pick up the principles of Jackett, the good principles, the bit of defensive solidity and the sort of willingness to win that Portsmouth always seem to have in some of the bigger games. I think he'll have been able to pick that up because they're not too different managers actually in terms of how they set up the sides and how they play. I know on Saturday they played a 4-3-3, didn't they? But John McQueen being up top, he'll love that. Will Carly? He loved having what's the big lad called Matt Reed with the the hair patch, is that the right word? He had a bowling head, basically. And I remember them in non-league and League Two. He used to love having him. And John Akinde was there, weren't he, at one point? And he likes his big men. And John McQueen's not your typical big man. He is actually quite good with his feet as well. But he is a good target man to have. And then when you've got Marcus Harness and Ronan Curtis coming off the wings, they are a dangerous side, our Pompey. And Gavin Bazuna as well, good keeper. I had mistakes in him last year at Rochdale, but he's impressed me really for how young of a keeper he is. He's always going to make mistakes. To go from Rochdale to Portsmouth, it's a good move for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And John McQueen, he means John Marquis, by the way, guys. League One Junior of the Year over here. Now, we did leave it out. I wanted to come to it last. That's why. Ipswich, now 5 games, 3 draws, 2 defeats. So they're not losing games of football. They are scoring. I think they've scored 10 goals this season, which is unbelievable for a side that are struggling. They're scoring goals. Macaulay Bonne, he's firing. I think he's got 3 or 4 goals now. Wes Bourne's up and running. He was outstanding on Saturday. Got the goal and won the penalty. Joe Pigott scored the penalty to put them 2-0 up. How important will Joe Pigott's goal be for them going forward? I think that's one thing you got to take away. Yes, they drew the game 2-2, but Burns is up and running, and Pigott, who will go and score 20 goals this season, in my opinion, he's up and running for them.
They've got a ridiculous squad, haven't they?
It's too big, in my opinion. I looked at it before. I think they've got 10 attacking options that's already played. When you look at Macaulay Bonne, Norwood, you've got Caden Jackson on the bench, Burns, Pigott. It's incredible in your midfield. Tom Carroll, at the back, you've got, Cameron Burgess has just been signed for 800 grand. Janai Neshin was on loan at us last year. Matt Penny's been on the bench. I think sometimes you can sign too many players and the squad's too big and there's loads of egos in there and big wages. And I think that's what they're struggling with. I'll be honest with you.
I feel like it's when it's a single kid. So a parent, they've only got one kid. So you've not got any siblings, have you?
I've got a couple of brothers.
Oh, have you? Oh, fair enough. Right. But you're a single kid, and the stereotypical parent buys everything for this kid, and they spoil them because it's their only kid, sort of thing. And then it kind of it's a negative effect because the kid, as they grow up, think they expect everything, and they're a bit arsey, and they're a bit of a princess or princess either way, male or female. So I do feel like it's one of those situations where they're just putting too much into it. Like they're giving the fans too much, because obviously the fans really did not like the era under the previous regime, and they're all very excited about this new regime. That maybe they've gone a bit overboard with it. I don't know. It's early days, isn't it? Every team is going to struggle in a 5-game period this season. It's just, is it a coincidence that it's just the first 5 games and then it's going to start clicking into gear? I mean, we've got to remember that as well. How many signings is it? 16, 17 with Christian Walton signing today. It's a squad that will need time. Bolton last year, how many did they sign under Everett? Lincoln won Appleton. It takes time for all these players to bed in and get used to the manager's style. So I really hope they stick by Paul Cook, because I think he's an immensely talented manager. And I don't get all this Liam Richardson bollocks about them missing Richardson, basically. Because, obviously they will miss Richardson, but, I think Cook is the main man there, and I think Ipswich will do all right in the end.
Yeah, I agree. And if you don't know, Liam Richardson is now Wigan's manager, who I don't think Jack's the biggest of fans of. But again, he's been his assistant manager at Portsmouth, and he wanted to take him to Ipswich, but took the 3-year deal at Wigan. Fair play to him. I like that of him. But Ipswich, for me, I agree with your comparison. I think it's a very good comparison. They signed a lot of players to gel in. Blackpool last year let go of 21 players. They brought in 17. They won 1 of their first 7 games. Their manager was underqualified. Well, he's one of the most qualified managers, but was underexperienced. Then they went to go and win 22 of their last 39 game. It's unbelievable how quickly football can turn. Even 10 games, if it hasn't still clicked, maybe have a look. But they've got a very good squad there, and they've got squads for different teams to play. They've got a very good manager. There's not going to be any better manager than Paul. He's done it with Portsmouth, a difficult club at the time. Wigan, a basket case club at the time with difficult situations. Same with Chesterfield. It could have just gone over that. Give him time. He needs to be back. It's as simple as that. He has been back. You've got a good goalkeeper now. Him and Halaki, I'm not being funny. Who's going to play there? That's going to cause a lot of disturbance. Yes, he's been conceding goals, but he's a very good goalkeeper. You don't keep 25 clean sheets in League Two if you're not a good goalkeeper. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ipswich do. Keep the comments flow. We've got some Q&A now for the last 10 minutes before we do leave you. But I just I wanted to mention the bottom bottom 7 and the top 7 before we get on to those questions. When you look at it, Jack, obviously you got Wigan up there doing really, really well. You got Burton up there thriving. Who are you fancying out the top 7? Because the top 7, there's always a lot of change at the start and the end of the season. For example, the top 7 now is Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford, Wigan, Portsmouth, Wycombe, and then Burton just outside. Any of those teams that you think will be there at the end of the year, or any sides may fade away?
I think they can all be towards, I think everyone said it. League One this year is such a good league. Most games are pretty good games, pretty even. No one's really going into many games as favourites. I think Sunderland who are top at the moment, they'll be up there. Or is this just a streaky Lee sort of moment, and then is they going to go on a bit of a poor run as well? I mean, Lee Johnson does like to do a few poor runs, but Sheffield Wednesday will be up there. We speak about how good Ipswich's squad is. Sheffield Wednesday have got a very good one as well, and I'm surprised at the amount of players they've been able to keep hold of. For me, actually, it's probably the strongest squad in the league. Sheffield Wednesdays. Oxford, see them being up and around there. Top 12, definitely. Wigan, not so sure. And was it you? Was it Wigan that have played 4 of the bottom 7 or something like that?
No, that was Portsmouth. Wigan have played all the good teams. Wigan have played Sunderland away. They played Portsmouth at home. They obviously played Bolton in the cup. They played Wycombe at home. The teams that they're playing it's so tough. It's unbelievable. Like the teams that they've played so far. So I think Wigan, it'd be interesting to see how they do against a low block and a team that's going to defend for the line. Obviously, they're going to play Fleetwood, who play a back 5 with 2 holding midfielders and strikers that come back and defend on every corner. So it'd be interesting to see how they do against a side like that. But they've got enough quality. Like, when you look at the team, they played Charlton away as well. So they're down there, but they're a good side. They've got James McLean, they've got Stephen Humphreys, they've got Charlie Wyke, who's got about 3 or 4 yellow cards, just no goals yet. You've got, Daik at the back, who's a very good, is probably as good as right back as anyone in this league. Got a decent goalkeeper now, a decent, back 4. Watmore, who Richardson worked with at Portland. So I personally like it. I think they'll be up there come the end of the season to get 10 points from the first 5 games, unbeaten in the last 4, 3 wins, 1 draw. So I think Liam Richardson's a manager that has learned his trade. I think it's a tougher job this year because of the expectation. Like you say, last year you had kids that wanted to prove themselves in the game, that wanted to go and get professional contracts, wanted to go to other football clubs and impress. Now he's working with pros of 10 years, 15 years on big wages that have already made it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can manage that. We saw what Lampard did with the kids and then did when you had the likes of Havertz and Werner. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But Wycombe and Burton, though, Jack, I think one of those will be in the top 6, possibly even the top 2. I like the managers, I like the squads, I like the characters that they've got. What's your thoughts on them?
They're both 2 similar sides as well, aren't they, in how they set up and how they play. They don't really like having the ball. They're quite brutal with how they play, but that's not a bad thing. It gets running around that can be a bad thing, but it's not. That's how Jimmy and Gareth want to play, and that's how they will play. And I think they will be very similar this year. Top 12 for sure. Wycombe, there's more expectation on them. I wonder how Wycombe are going to deal with that expectation of having a good squad. I mean, having Sam Vokes in any team in League One is a good signing.
Pendle brings very good young player. I think he's a teenager, just about brings their age down to 29, the oldest squad in the league. So it'll be interesting to see how they do later on in the year when they've got, like McCleary, Stockdale, Jacobson's, Vokes, Akin Fenwars. It's an oldish squad, but there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, I think I love that saying. I really like that saying. I think they both could fall short if teams figure out how they play. And by now, teams should know how Wycombe play. I know they're not exactly the same of what they were 2 years ago, but teams should figure out how they play because, it is, I don't want to say prehistoric because that's putting a negative spin on it. I really admire how they play and how they set up in terms of professional footballers. You can play however you like and, they have a play style and they know how to play. I mean, they've got the third least amount of possession over these 5 games. Only Cambridge and Gillingham have got less. But yeah, I think if anyone's going to fall short, I think definitely Burton will. I don't see Burton finishing top 6. I think the league's too strong for them this year, even though how well Jimmy's done there. And then same with Wycombe. I think they will be competing in and around for those 4th, 5th, 6th playoff spots.
Yeah, I agree. And just the 3 games in League One before we get on to the last couple of questions. In this weekend, obviously, Crewe, Morecambe, Doncaster, Cambridge, Fleetwood, Wigan, Gills, Charlton, Wednesday, Sunderland, Wycombe and Ipswich are all called off due to international call-ups. So I just want a result from you here, Jack, just quickly. Accrington against struggling Shrewsbury at the Wham.
We'll go for a solid 1-1 draw in that game.
I'm going for an Accrington 2-1 win. Wimbledon against Oxford. Again, Wimbledon, 1 win, 3 draws so far, 1 defeat. A solid start for the Dons. 6 points, moving back into Plough Lane, up against an Oxford side that's got 10 points from 15.
Exciting game. 3-2 Oxford.
Ooh, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Oxford. I think it'll just be tied. Cheltenham again, settling into this league very, very nicely. I think it's 5 points on the board right now. A win, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. Ipswich, of course, unlucky against Fleetwood and a good point on the road against Burton Albion. Alfie May, I like him a lot. Up against MK Dons, Manning's men, Yelsa, Harrop, leading to victory. Jack, I'm going to go for a Cheltenham win. I think they'll win that one 2-0.
Yeah, dark horses this year, Cheltenham, by the way. 1-1.
Got the long throw, like Fleetwood, Will Boyle.
Oh, all the stats last year, all the underlying stats and the way they performed last year was fantastic under Michael Duff. They're probably the strongest side in my adult life since I've really enjoyed watching the lower leagues. Probably the strongest side I've ever seen in League Two and stronger than the Bolton on Cambridge side. So I think if we can talk about Bolton being dark horses, I think we can talk about Cheltenham being dark horses as well.
Yeah, I agree. And when you top goal scorer, when you've been promotions on 9 goals, it says a lot. And Alfie May, by the way, I watched him last week against Fleetwood. I'm doing a top 10 striker video this week, and he's coming into selection because how good he was, how difficult it was to play against. He got into little pockets. He was outstanding for them. I thought he was really good. Let's come to the comments just before we go. Class podcast. Thank you very much. Wycombe strong at home. Yeah, it's going to be huge. We're very good towards the end of last year. I think the last 8 games, he got like 15 or 16 points, which was like playoff form. Hull and Bolton in the cup, they've beaten already, which is really good. We're going to play Sunderland, Rotherham, Wycombe, Charlton and Portsmouth. You're not going to get tougher. And up next, you had Fleetwood. So you were going to have the best 6 teams in the league. Yeah, well, there's only 3 games on at the minute. All the rest are called off. He did have a big budget at Wigan, but towards the end, it did come a bit messy, didn't it? So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. Keep your comments flying in.
Who's that?
To normally start poorly and get better after Christmas, but they have started reasonably well this season. My dark horses for promotion. I agree. I think they've got to be up there. They've got a good midfield. I like the back four. They've got a lot of good spine. Thornley at the back, who's a good player as well. You've got a good goalkeeper. You've got experience. Elliot Moore's still there as well. So they've got the quality all over it. And, they've got goals. It's a very... I've mentioned this bit about another team, but I think they're a very fun squad, don't you, Jack?
Oxford, yeah. Brilliant watch. It was a game last year which was shown on Sky, Oxford against Lincoln. I can't actually remember what it finished now, but it was a real entertaining game, a real good ad for League One football. And I think even in that Blackpool game, they didn't do themselves enough justice. But they're just an exciting team, aren't they? They're good going forward. Maybe not as good defensively, but they're an exciting team.
Absolutely. Morecambe flying it as well. A couple of wins and, a couple of tough games coming up, but Morecambe just need to keep adding those points. And, they're proving doubters wrong, which I like. And every time Morecambe win a game, by the way, their directors on Twitter are tagging me and everything, going how well they're doing. So it's good. I like that. And it's kind of like, shut up. Morecambe are here to stay, and that's where they belong. Impressive knowledge. And remember, guys, get subscribing. I think we're just under 50 subscribers away from 7,000. Jack, do you want to plug your Twitter page where people can go and find your betting tips and how they can go and lose a lot of money every weekend?
So my Twitter page is at Jack Goodwin 2001, and I write for Footy Accumulators. So I'm the lead writer, so I do all divisions really, but I do take a particular interest in League One. And when we did a quiz, Ben, who knew more about League One last year?
He did know more, but I think I'm a new man now. I've done a lot of research. And also, Tony, thank you. I am up in a final. Yep, Fleetwood final. Let's win something this year. We're not going to win many games. So I am under best football content creator in the Football League. In the final 10, let's go and get a result up against some big guns. I think, again, Sheffield United, a couple of Forest vloggers, Bristol Rovers. So it'll be good to see little Fleetwood get a win there. So if you want to go and vote the Football Content Awards, Lee Gregory, we've not mentioned him. There's so many good strikers that we forgot about him, really. We talked about Michael Smith. We talked about, Ross Stewart. We've talked about Charlie White. But Lee Gregory, 2 goals so far, been from point edge range, really. He could go and get 15, 20 goals, couldn't he?
Oh, brilliant player. I loved him. Halifax, loved him at Millwall. I think I'm going to love him at Sheffield Wednesday. Didn't love him so much at Stoke, which was a surprise. But I think League One's now his level. And I think if you give him an opportunity, he'll take it.
Yeah, I agree. Wednesday against us, had 5 crosses across the box, and they just didn't have anyone there. When Gregory will get in the mix and he'll get a few more goals, he'll finish them off. And, the other day it was frustrating for them, but, good show. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Stoke just signed 2 strikers in the last 10 minutes. Unbelievable. Humphries and Lang. Callum Lang, he's another one that's, come back into his own scoring goals. New contract as well, Jack, which is, good. And Stephen Humphries is a different kind of striker, isn't he? Big lump up front, can hold the ball up and can, run the channel.
Yeah, I remember that goal. It was Stephen Humphries who scored for Southend to keep them in League One.
Yeah, Sunderland.
Pardon?
Yeah, against Sunderland when he beat them 2-1.
Yeah, and it was a bit of anticlimactic because then they went 2 divisions down the next 2 years. But no, he's a good player to have. Charlie White's a great player to have. They've got a good team. I've been a bit harsh on Wigan. I had them to go down, so...
Yeah, if you've not noticed, he doesn't like Liam Richardson one bit, which I think is unfair and unjustified. But let us know down in the comments quickly the best and the worst manager in League One. Obviously, Joey Bolton's out of it now, so you can't vote for him. Let us know down below just before we go. Lang is decent. Rotherham normally start off the season slowly, just need to be consistent in front of goal. Some good team this season. I think we'll find it hard to go straight back up. I think it's a learning process for you, mate. I think it's going to be a season where you're going to win a lot of games, but then also lose the next game as well. So I think you've got to be patient. Paul One's a right man. I think when you look at Crewe, Wycombe and Rotherham, I think those 3 clubs should never sack the manager. I think those managers should leave on their own terms what they've done for their football clubs. Paul One looking for a 3rd promotion. Gareth Ainsworth looking for his 3rd promotion with Wycombe and a promotion back to the Championship. And Dave Artell looking to keep his side up in League One again. So all 3 managers I like a lot. So what do you think about that statement?
What? The
about those three clubs, Crewe, Wycombe, and their managers to leave on their own terms and not particularly get sacked after a couple of stupid results.
You know exactly what I'm like, Ben. You know what my answer's going to be. I love my managers. I think managers deserve time and they deserve loyalty. Worst moment in my life. Well, not worst moment in my life. One of the most upsetting moments in my footballing life. It was in the Premier League when Ranieri got sacked after winning. Well, not after, but 6-7 months after winning the Premier League, which is the most unbelievable thing anyone could ever achieve. You've hit the nail on the head. Warney, Ainsworth, Artell, they're on great jobs there. And same with Mark Bonner as well. Even if they struggle this year, should be kept in the job.
Best manager I'd have to say Lee Johnson, Streaky Lee. And I think it's going to mention a lot. That sounds good. So that is the end of today's show. I hope you have enjoyed it. That is a wrap. Again, a couple of good results. It's Sunderland and Wednesday in the top 2, Burton just outside the playoffs, and the bottom 4 looks at Ipswich, Shrewsbury, Crewe, and Doncaster Rovers. Doncaster Crewe still without a win, as are Ipswich. When will those wins come out? I'm pretty sure it'll be soon. Jack, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to say anything before you go.
Not really, no. Just thank you for listening, everyone, and hopefully I'll be back on at some point later on in the season.
Absolutely, and thank you for you guys that joined in. I much appreciate it. Another League One live show next Monday evening. Thank you for being patient with me in the last week. I've been bedriddled. I've not been able to do any content, but we are back this week. No Fleetwood vlog this week. There won't be a vlog. We are going to go ground hopping, either to go and watch Ashton against Macclesfield or Carlisle against Salford due to the lack of games in League One. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, I will see you later. Up the cards and all the best for this week for your team. See you in a bit.